Anyhow, learning to adjust and move with all that's kind of neat. And I always love stories about ministers' families and some of the wild, crazy things they get into. And I suppose one of the dearest and warmest and most special stories in my life is a story that I picked up from my good friend Loren Young. Loren is a Methodist minister who for many years was connected with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes as a national director, and who now lives in Atlanta, Georgia, actually in Griffin, Georgia, where he spends his time as a special occasion speaker and lecturer and industrial relations counselor and 2 or 3 other things he does. But Loren's father, Albert Young, was a Methodist minister in the coal mining territories of West Virginia and spent his entire 50-something years as a minister serving in West Virginia Methodist churches. Absolutely one of God's rare gifts to the earth. He was a warm, tough old dude. You know, he's like a hard outside but marshmallow middle kind of character. And he could be as tough as he needed to be or as gentle as he needed to be, but he loved to be gentle first. Kids still loved him. He died on Father's Day when he was 83. That's the day for him to go. His kids rave and rant and carry on about him like few people I've ever heard in my life. They think he was the living end as a father. One time, Albert Young had invited another Methodist minister to come to their home, to come to their church and lead in a Methodist revival. That's back when Methodists used to have revivals. And now they just have occasional meetings, you know, but Baptists are heading that direction. And I don't know what's going to come of it yet. But anyhow, this was back when they used to have revivals, sometimes 2 weeks. 2 weeks is when we used to gang up on the town hypocrite and get him, you know, for just like bringing Wyatt Earp in to settle a dispute down at the saloon, you know, we bring him in. And this Methodist preacher, Methodist evangelist, had come to town to bless that known part of West Virginia. Opening Sunday of the revival meeting, and they had Sunday lunch at home. Loren's mother, Mrs. Young, they all had the same last name, kind of helped with the mail carrying. Ms. Young was the world's finickiest Sunday lunch cooker. You couldn't finicky up a Sunday lunch any better than Ms. Young could finicky up a Sunday lunch. She had to have the tablecloth just right, use the best silverware and china every Sunday, and the kids couldn't take off their ties and all that stuff till after lunch. And of course, they were so sloppy they had to keep their clothes in the refrigerator, you know, because they just got so much mess on them. But they had to wear their ties to lunch. She was going to instill a little class in this crew. Well, Sunday lunch came. There are 4 children in the family. Loren is 4, his sister, I'm going to call her Paula. I never can remember his sister's name, but I think it's Paula. Loren and Paula, is 8. He has a brother, Rocky, who is 12, a brother, Pete, who is 16. Incidentally, Pete was an All-American fullback at the University of West Virginia, and Rudy Valley wrote the song Mr. Touchdown USA about Pete Young when he was a senior in college. He scored 33 touchdowns that year. And here was Pete Young, seated across the table, thick, tough, 16, 12 for Rocky, 8 for Paula, 4 for Loren. Loren's dad's at this end of the table, his mom's at this end of the table near the hot rolls. And you got the kids, Loren, Paula, and Rocky. Across the table is Pete, who is 16, and next to the pastor is the visiting evangelist, who wouldn't discuss his age because he didn't think it really mattered ultimately. So he's seated right there. They held hands around the table, had the blessing. Amen. And the moment they finished the prayer, Paula reached for the green beans because she was hungry. It took an extra 20 minutes to get lunch with company. Reached for the green beans, and as she did, knocked her tea glass over toward Loren, who was reaching for sugar for his tea. And he jumped to get out of the way, kapow, and knocked his tea glass over. Now here we have got this magnificent linen tablecloth, all of the elegance in china, fresh cut flowers, a super finicky cooked lunch, and 2 glasses of tea go, and they're just 9 brown ice cubes, and all this trickling tea, which is heading for people. I don't know if you ever try to get away from tea that won't it on you, but you can't make it, babe. Tea will come on you like Panther in the dark. And you just, it'll get you. It'll get you. Always wear brown to the table if they're serving tea, because it'll, Well, anyhow, 2 glasses of tea hit the table, and the instant it hits the table, everybody kind of goes, and looks at Ms. Lunch, world's finickiest Sunday young cooker, or whatever it was. Anyhow, Ms. Young, world's finickiest Sunday lunch cooker, is right down there. And it all goes, put out, and they all go. And she's sitting down here going, because we got company and she can't say what's on her heart. Isn't about to be verily, verily under the circumstances. Well, she is all swollen up with an intense, fierce anger. And everybody's just... And in that tense moment, just before she could really let the tea kettle go, psst, Albert Young, head of the household, kind of leaned over and caught her eye and grinned and goes, "Patow," and knocked his tea glass over too. Ta-da! Get him! Now we've got about 14 ice cubes hunting folks. The tea is on maneuvers. She has seen a grown man intentionally kapow a glass of tea. You know, she's hurting now. In the inner spirit, she's boiling. Rocky had hated wearing his tie to the table all his life. He had hated finicky cooked lunches every Sunday. He is 12 years old, and if his daddy could do it, pow, he did it too. Now she's got 4 of them. This whole side of the table is running off on the floor. And she's going, wanting to sop it up with hot rolls, you know, just dying. Tell me it isn't true. It's a wild dream, you know. Pete's sitting right here. He's 16. Who's going to bother Pete, future All-American? He felt just like Rocky. Ha ha! Put on! And he hit his tea glass. Everybody's got their chance to get even. Man, tea is going everywhere. It's running through the leaves, dripping in their socks. And they're afraid to move. And it's just oozing and hunting folks. Drip, drip, sag, drop, splatter. And she's going... The guest Methodist minister, being in the clergy, never got to have fun. You know? So he goes, boom, boom, and knocked his over too. Now we have got 6 glasses of tea and 27 brown ice cubes and one of the greatest old dirty-looking puddles you ever saw. Some groups could baptize in it. You know? Sop on there, bless you. You know. It was everywhere. And she is now out of breath, just... You know, she's screaming, but nothing's coming out. You know the feeling? And she looked down the table at her weird husband, Albert Young, Methodist minister, one more time, and she's ready to punch that dude out. And he winked at her. And all of a sudden she goes, put out, and just hit hers too, you know. Now we got 7 glasses of tea, an inestimable number of valuable ice cubes. The whole table is cracking up, putting their elbows in it. Soppy from the hips up. They're all just drenched. Everybody was roaring in laughter. Except Paula. And when they looked at Paula, she was looking up at her daddy, Albert Young, with great old big tears trickling down her cheeks and a sniff in her throat. Because she had just discovered something that I think is the most beautiful picture of God I know. She just discovered that her daddy believed that her feelings were more important than a tablecloth. And because of his sensitivity to his child, he wasn't going to let her get clobbered in front of company. And if you get her, you're going to get me. I wish somehow we could capture that spirit of the loving Father when we share faith. God who loves me more than he loves rules. God who loves me more than He loves institutions. God who loves me more than He loves the Bible. God who loves me more than He loves anything else in all this world.